Hey, it's Maurice, and I'm sitting here in front of Dooky Chase restaurant, which has been around, believe it or not, since 1941, which is way before I've been around. And this is the fourth installment of the emotional marketing series taking place in the restaurants and small businesses of New Orleans. And I wanted to use Dooky Chase to share a very important emotional market, which is not something that people talk about a lot these days. And it's the market of care, which is providing care and receiving care through the actual business. And I know a lot of people talk about creating an extraordinary customer experience, but very rarely is a business so infused with the emotional market of care as what I've seen in Dooky Chase. And this woman here is Leah Chase, and she's 96 years old, and she's still cooking in Dooky Chase restaurant. She married Dooky Chase back in the 40s, and together they created this incredible restaurant. Leah Chase is now known as the queen of Creole cuisine, and she really is all about using food to bring families together and to really uplift the community in which she lives. She's here in the historic neighborhood of Tremé, and this restaurant has been in Tremé since it started, and it never moved, even though it's become a fine dining establishment. But she wanted to keep it here to be an inspiration for everyone in her community. I was on the Uber on the way over here, and the Uber driver was like, oh yeah, she's hosting this special event that she's sponsoring for the community, and my stepdaughter's participating in it. And like everybody knows Leah Chase because she's spent decades giving back to the community. Back in the 1960s, she hosted, Martin Luther King and the freedom fighters and all their political meetings, really helping to forge the way for civil rights in this community, putting her restaurant on the line. It was illegal to gather and talk about civil rights, but she still did it. And the police could not shut her down even though they knew about it because of the fear of the backlash of the community if they closed this restaurant. That's how much she's infused the emotional market of caring. And back in the 1950s and 60s, before there were Black-owned banks, she would cash the checks of people in the community on Friday nights when they got their paychecks, and then they would come in and they'd have a drink and they'd have a meal. And she really went out on a limb for the people in her community, basically since she started. And she really started this restaurant because there weren't a place for Black people to come and gather that was a good restaurant to eat. So she was listed in the Green Book, where African Americans who were traveling, whether they be musicians or whoever, could come here and have an incredible meal. And I had just read her book, And Still I Cook. So she's still working in the kitchen at 96, which is extraordinary. And when I read this book, I was just blown away with her words and what she had to say about why she does what she does. And she talked about learning values from her parents. And from her dad, she learned to always give the best of what you have, whatever it is that you have to give. And here in New Orleans, we've got an expression called LAGNIAPPE, which means a little something extra in Cajun. So whenever someone comes and buys something, you give them a little something extra, a little something they weren't expecting, just to surprise and delight them. She was talking about hosting women's groups here and how they were so full of life, and they filled her restaurant with their joy and their commitment and their vision. So when she's planning the menus for them, she's thinking about how to have a menu that aligns with the spirit and their energy. So she'd end it with, say, a sassy dessert made with Bailey's Irish cream or something to leave them on a note that would just fill them with the energy that she's got. And she always led with this principle that she learned from her dad, who used to sell vegetables from his garden, and whatever they bought, he'd throw in an extra vegetable here or there just to give them a gift. And she's always used those principles to guide her to this day in creating just an extraordinary experience for the people in her restaurant, and providing and receiving care through extraordinary food, through creating a place for the community to gather, through daring to hold political events here when it was illegal, through cashing the checks of the locals in the neighborhoods who couldn't get their checks cashed anywhere else, to staying here since 1941. I mean, we're talking about like going on 70 years here in the same spot, even though she's become this fine dining establishment that's hosted the likes of Martin Luther King, George Bush, Barack Obama, Ray Charles, you name it. Everybody has come to this restaurant to eat Leah's food because she's become such an incredible member of the community. Leah had a belief that when you really care, whatever it is that you give, you get back double. And I've always had this value in the business Live Your Message, that you can have everything you want in life if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. And she exemplifies that, and I really believe that so often people are talking about building a business based on what they could get and the lifestyle they can lead versus what they can give, and how through giving they can make their own dreams come true by making other people's dreams come true. So this is Dooky Chase, my friends, and if you're ever in New Orleans, I highly recommend you come out to this place. We're about to sit down and eat an extraordinary Creole lunch. And thanks for listening. And how can you infuse your business with more care? And stay tuned, because the next emotional market is self-identity. And I'm taking you somewhere very, very special. And that is my personal favorite emotional market. So let me know in the comments down below how you can infuse more care into your business and really leverage this emotional market to draw people in and give back to them and love them up and change their lives with who you're being and how you're running your business. So go out there, live your message. Later.